Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be going over the major snowstorm that's going to be impacting northern New England tomorrow into Wednesday. So let's get right into it. Um, we have a lot of winter weather advisories spanning from Montana all the way to Maine. Pretty much winter weather advisories go up to around northwestern Ohio and around there, and then winter storm warnings start in northeastern Ohio all the way up to northern Maine. Now, I expect a lot of these southern areas to be filled in with winter weather advisories or be downgraded to winter weather advisories, and some areas filled in. But that should happen more so tomorrow or sometime tonight or more so tomorrow, depending on when this video goes up. So that's it for our winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings that the National Weather Service has put out. So let's take a look at the current radar. You could see a lot starting to form. Let's be able to get Control T. You could see a nice band, not really band, but a multitude of bands starting to form. We have a little bit of a low pressure starting in and around this area. You could see some precipitation spanning from Montana to Chicago. This was always the story with this system, that it was going to end up being long and strung out instead of compact and very strong, or else we could have gotten a really big storm out of this. But this is basically the start of this is basically our trough. We're getting this precipitation from overrunning wind energy over a low level moisture in the atmosphere that's causing precipitation to form. This precipitation should start to consolidate more so from in and around this area, where you're going to see heavier rates of precipitation as compared to a bunch of little bands like here and here and here forming. All right, so enough of that. Let's get into the models. Here's the NAM model, North American model. It's a mesoscale model we use in the short range to predict weather. This is a 500 millibar vorticity map, basically showing us wind energy in the atmosphere, and this is gonna do wonders in showing us how this overall setup evolves. So here are a couple things we should point out here as we load this up. Here we go. A couple things to point out on this map. We have a big upper level low in just south of California, northern New Mexico. Big upper level low here. This is going to be providing some energy to our storm system that's going to be forming. We should see some pressure falls in around this region with very broad low pressure and a strengthening of the low pressure just off the coast of Long Island, or maybe even right around New York City. In this area, we should see some strengthening and tightening of that low pressure system. Now, you could see in these areas, this is where we're getting our precipitation, where we have these little streaks of wind energy right now. This is going to somewhat consolidate over the next day. You could see the start of a trough coming in over here. This is going to basically swing around. Let's erase everything off of this, make it a little less confusing. This piece of our polar jet streak is going to swing down this way and consolidate energy at its base and go into a negative tilt like this. We're going to have a low pressure forming right around here, and you're going to have precipitation being thrown back on the western side. And where that precipitation meets cold air, you're going to have really big snowfalls. Really big snowfalls in and around these areas where that upper level low wind energy is coming up from the south. You're having precipitation coming from the east off the Atlantic Ocean, and you're going to have some really big snowfalls in these blue circle areas. But let's continue to go with the NAM progression. This is right now. Then you can see that the trough starts to dip down from this area. You see a trough beginning to form. Here we go, and this is it. You start to consolidate energy in this region, Let's make another map here. Computer's running a little slow because I'm running OBS right now to record this video. It's the first video I've ever recorded like this, so if it's a little not up to par, bear with me. It'll get better throughout the winter. Here we go. You have your trough here. Here's your trough. Trough axis is currently positive, but that won't be much of an issue as this is going to swing around this way and will go negative. When troughs are oriented southwest, so southwest to northeast, we call that a positive orientation or a positive trough. When the orientation is this way, it's a negative. So that's what I mean by it's going to swing around. Eventually, the orientation is going to be like that. It'll be a negative trough. It's a lot easier to formulate storms that way. So here's our trough. Our storm is starting to form in and around this area. We have some pressure falls around here, traversing to the east. Look at all this energy that's being consolidated at the base of the trough. All this energy. Know how I spoke about the upper level low before in this region? Look at where the energy is coming from for the storm to formulate. You could draw a line from the upper level low to where the storm is formulating. You're pulling energy from this upper level low here and you're transferring it to our storm. We could have had a much bigger storm. I'll go into it quickly, it's not worth much detail. If this trough was a little further south, it would have picked up this upper level low and drove it up the coast, but it's November, setups tend to break down like that, so it is what it is. But moving forward in time, we see trough really starting to formulate here. You could literally draw the energy from the upper level low into our trough here. You have a storm formulating at the base of the trough, and you're starting to ram. This is a lot of wind energy here. You're talking about 30 knots of wind energy into upstate New York. You're going to snow moderate to heavy there for at least a couple hours, and then this thing really starts to get going just past New York, but in southeastern Canada, just north of Maine, should get a really good beating of snow from this. But you could even see, you could draw back the line to the upper level low wind energy here. If it lets me draw again. You could draw a line from the energy in the upper level low. Here's our upper level low, I moved a little east. You could literally draw a line directly into the storm, providing moisture flow, providing energy for our storm to form. And by now our storm's over here, this thing's really going. You're snowing really heavy in these areas by this time. Southeastern Canada, just north of Maine and Vermont and New Hampshire, in my opinion. But this storm could have been much bigger, but this is what we're dealing with. So the reason you're going to get rain in the big cities, DC, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, this trough isn't digging enough. So now you're formulating the low pressure at the base, and look where it's not digging enough. Look where the low pressure is going to be. You're going to be going right over New York. You're going to be going right over Philly, right over Boston. That is not the type of storm track you need for snow. You need the storm to be a couple hundred miles further off the coast. Even in Albany, a lot of southern New England is probably not going to get much from this because of the track of the low pressure system. But that's our overall 500 millibar progression. Then this thing really starts to wrap up as we get past. Now you're ramming 40 to 50 knots of wind energy into southeast Canada. That's a lot of it's a lot of energy at 500 millibars. So we can look at the forecasted snowfalls from the NAM model. I don't really like looking at these too much, but it gives you a good general overall picture of what's going to happen. So let's zoom into the northeast here, and you could see exactly what I stated was happening. You have most of the bigger snows, northern New England, and you're getting a lot of it. Let's go to Kuchera ratio. This basically accounts for snowfall ratios, larger ratios. You're getting a lot of snow in these northern New England areas. 18 to 20 inches in isolated areas, northern New York. I don't think snowfall will be this high in western New York, 15. I think will cap out at about a foot. But you could get a large area of a foot of snow in a lot of northern New England here, going through northern Maine, northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont. Um, so yeah, there's a potential for some good early season snows in these areas, and then add that on top of lake effect the day after, and you're gonna be talking some very high totals off the lakes as well. Let's go to the precipitation. I wouldn't be surprised to see some snowfall for the I-95 areas, and I'll show you why. Here's our storm. Let's go to here. So we could see pressure. You could see our storm just northwest of New York City. Our low pressure is northwest of New York City, in and around the Albany area. However, on the back end of this, you could see this directly correlates. Let's zoom out a little bit to the whole East Coast. This directly correlates to the upper level low that I was talking about before. Let's get another drawing up. This directly correlates to the upper level low that's southeast. And look, you could literally draw a line of the energy of where the energy is right through here. If this storm was able to, if the trough was able to drop down a little more like this, you would have been able to take all this energy and combine it in around this region, and you would have gotten a really big storm coming up the coast. But excuse me, things don't always tend to work out that way. So now we're stuck with this really elongated piece of energy, but this might be the saving grace for a lot of areas further south to see their first flakes. You're going to rotate this around as the storm is moving off and to the northeast. This little area of precipitation is going to rotate around, and you're going to get at least some flakes in areas like Virginia. You might even see some in North Carolina. DC, you'll probably see your first flakes. Philly, up through New York, Hartford, and Boston. This whole area here should see their first flakes. Some areas may even pick up around an inch if they're lucky in a little heavier isolated band there. But a lot of areas should see their first flakes, and we could see that on the NAM here. You see this area, you see this area of snow starting to swing around the base of the low pressure system. And at this hour, this is Tuesday afternoon, you're snowing in DC, Philly, about to start snowing New York City. It's currently raining in Boston, but Boston will get in on it too a little bit. And you're going to end up getting a coating to an inch. I think the NAM totals are a little overdone if we go back to the totals. I definitely think the totals are a little overdone. I highly doubt you're going to see 2+ inches in Southern Virginia and 2 inches in Philly, but I definitely think you're going to see a coating to an inch in a lot of these areas. Definitely think a coating to an inch is possible. I'll outline uh, where I like the most snow from that little band swiping through. I definitely think from eastern Pennsylvania down through DC and northeastern Virginia, this area here that I'm outlining in purple, I think we'll definitely see their first flakes of the year at least, if not a coating to an inch. So you do get some accumulation out of this, but I think this area is going to be the big area for to see their first flakes, and it's pretty early in the year for first flakes. I mean, it's November 10th, so it's not it's pretty earlier in the year for first flakes. All right, so now let's another model. I just want to show the HERF model. When this model isn't on it, you know that it's going to be a pretty big storm. You're talking totals. If we scroll down, 15 to 20 inches in portions of upstate New York, a wide area of 12 to 15 inches, and a very big swath of 6 to 8. So when the HERF is enthused, that's definitely when I really like this model. Well, this formulation of models. This model is an ensemble. It's a formulation of a bunch of models. But when the HERF is enthused, that's when I would start to get excited in these areas. As you can see, it's not so excited about snowfall in these regions, which is why I think a coating to an inch is a good maxima. This model starts at 1 to 2, but I definitely think you could see it coating in the areas I talked about before: DC, Philly, New York, and Boston. I definitely think we'll see at least their first flakes. So let's get on to my forecast. This is my forecast for the storm. We have a coating to an inch just northwest of Philadelphia, just northwest of New York, in Hartford, Boston. I think this could be pushed southeast a little bit. Let's be able to draw on this. Let's go. Definitely think this is taking a while to load. Jeez. Definitely think this could look a little more like this. Um, I think a coating to an inch on these areas is definitely possible. Also, so yeah, there's that. Then we have our 1 to 3 inches. I think western Pennsylvania, the western third of Pennsylvania, is good for at least 1 to 3 inches. I think the higher elevations in northeast Pennsylvania definitely good for maybe a slushy inch or two. Albany, I have you just outside of 1 to 3 inches. I think there'll be about an inch there. The hills of Massachusetts and Connecticut, I definitely think a couple inches there at most. Um, Moving further north, I think coastal Maine will get an inch or two. I think this might be a little too far down at the coast. I think the extreme coast will only be at a coating to an inch, but this is good enough for now. Um, then this is where it starts to get tricky because there's going to be a very tight gradient between 3 to 5 inches and 5 to 8 or even 8 to 12. So 3 to 5, I have a really thin swath swiping through northwestern Pennsylvania, central New York. Again, I think this is a little too far south. This 3 to 5, I don't think the hills of Massachusetts are going to get 3 to 5. I think it's going to mostly stay confined to north of this line in Vermont. Um, However, it's certainly possible you see some higher totals in northwestern Massachusetts, maybe 2 to 3 inches there. Um, and then just northwest of the coast in Maine, we get another 3 to 5 inches. Then the bigger snows, 5 to 8, northwestern Pennsylvania, central northern New York, the northern half of Vermont, northern half of New Hampshire, northern half of Maine, all good for 5 to 8. Then 8 to 12, I have swinging through Buffalo, Syracuse, up to the northern third of Vermont, the extreme northern New Hampshire, and the northern third of Maine. And then the big jackpot area, I think, is going to be the northern Adirondacks and northwestern Vermont. I definitely think you have the possibility of 12 to 18 inches. Maybe locally, you'll get 20 inches in some of those areas. So, confidence I have is rather high right now. Definitely think this forecast is mostly going to be good. As always, check back later for a verification period. I always love to hold myself accountable. And impact, we have slightly over medium because this is a pretty large storm for early November. However, it's not impacting very populated areas like our I-95 area. But Buffalo, Syracuse, cities like that are still rather big, so I have the impact pretty high. Plus, it's early November. If this was January or February, it'd be a slightly different story. So, any questions or comments, you guys can leave a comment down below. Please, if you like this content and would like to see more, like and subscribe. I'm going to be posting stuff like this all throughout the winter. A big portion of my model analysis also comes on Twitter. Follow me at Mike B Weather. That's where I generally do most of my posting. I'll be on YouTube also, but most of my posting is on Twitter at Mike B Weather. So hope you guys have a good one. Hope you guys found this helpful. And yeah, I'll be back in a couple days. We'll see how this forecast did. All right, bye.